Welcome to the Story King, where every tale pulls you into worlds you never want to leave. The Debt Collector's Prize. The knock came at midnight. Not the polite tap of a neighbor or the hurried rapping of a messenger. This was the kind of knock that rattled door frames and shook the dust from rafters. The kind that said, "I don't need permission to enter. I'm giving you a courtesy." Isla's hand froze halfway to the bread she'd been slicing for tomorrow's breakfast. In the silence that followed, she could hear her father's labored breathing from the bedroom upstairs, each exhale a wet rattle that had grown worse over the past month. Another knock, harder this time. "Coming," she called, her voice steadier than her hands as she set down the knife and wiped her palms on her apron. When she opened the door, the words died in her throat. The man standing on her threshold wasn't just tall, he was monumental, his shoulders broad enough to block out the moon behind him. Dark hair fell across a face carved from shadow and stone, all sharp angles and harder edges. But it was his eyes that froze the blood in her veins, molten gold, gleaming with an otherworldly light that marked him as something far more dangerous than human. "Alpha, Isla Thorne." His voice was granite wrapped in silk. She managed to nod, her fingers white-knuckled on the door's edge. "My name is Cale Northrend." He tilted his head, studying her with an intensity that made her feel naked despite her layers of wool and linen. "Alpha King of the Northern Territories. I've come to collect on a debt." The words hit her like a physical blow. "My father borrowed 50,000 gold crowns from my treasury 5 years ago." Cale pulled a rolled parchment from inside his black coat, the official seal of the Wolf Kingdom glinting in the lamplight. The terms were clear. Payment was due 1 year ago. The interest has been accumulating. Isla's mind reeled. 50,000 crowns. Her father had never mentioned, but then again, Thomas Thorne had never mentioned the gambling, either, until the collectors started appearing at the door. Until his lungs began failing from the poison he'd drunk trying to end it all. "How much?" she whispered. 73,412 crowns. Cale's golden eyes never left her face. "Due tonight." A sound escaped her throat, not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. "We don't have 73,000 crowns. We don't have 73 copper pennies. Sir, you're welcome to look around, but there's nothing here worth." "I'm not interested in your furniture, Miss Thorne." Something in his tone made her take a step back. Cale advanced, crossing the threshold without invitation, and Isla suddenly understood why prey animals froze before predators. Her rational mind screamed at her to run, but her body had gone still as stone. "The laws of debt are ancient," Cale continued, his presence filling the small cottage until Isla felt suffocated by it. "When a debtor cannot pay, the king may claim property, land, or labor to satisfy the obligation. We have no property, no land, no." His gaze dragged down her body, not lewdly, but with the assessment of someone evaluating merchandise. "But you have yourself." The world tilted. "You can't, that's slavery. It's illegal in indentured servitude," Cale corrected, his voice soft as a blade drawn from a sheath. "Perfectly legal under Northern Territory law, which your father agreed to when he signed this contract. 7 years of service to repay the debt. Or," he paused, and something flickered in those inhuman eyes, "I take you as collateral tonight and your father's debt dies with him. Which I understand won't be long now." Isla's hand flew up before she could think, the crack of her palm against his face echoing through the cottage like a gunshot. Silence. Cale's head had barely moved from the impact, but a red mark bloomed across his cheek. Slowly, so slowly, he reached up and touched the spot, his fingers coming away as if checking for blood. When he looked at her again, something hot and dangerous burned in his golden eyes. "You just struck an Alpha King," he said quietly. "You just threatened to let my father die." Isla lifted her chin, even as her knees trembled. "If you're going to kill me for it, get on with it." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, impossibly, Cale's lips curved into something that might have been a smile on a less terrifying face. "Interesting," he murmured. The reports said you were meek. Forgettable. They were wrong. The reports. Isla's blood ran cold. You've been watching us. I've been watching your father for 5 years, waiting for him to make good on his debt. When he didn't, I had my people compile information. Cale circled her slowly, and Isla forced herself not to turn, not to show fear. Imagine my surprise when I learned Thomas Thorne had a daughter, 23 years old, unmarried, no prospects, working herself to exhaustion trying to pay for medicines that won't save a man who squandered his fortune on cards and dice. Each word was a needle under her skin, precise and cruel. 3 days ago, Cale continued, now behind her, his voice at her ear, I decided to collect personally. And now that I've seen you, she felt rather than saw him lean closer, his breath warm against her neck. I'm making a new offer. I won't be your servant. Isla's voice shook but held. No, something brushed her hair, his fingers, maybe, or her imagination. You'll be my mate. Isla spun around so fast she nearly lost her balance. Cale caught her elbow with reflexes too quick to be human, steadying her even as his words echoed in her ears like thunder. You're insane, she breathed. I'm practical. I need a queen. The pack elders have been demanding I take a mate for 2 years now. You need your father's debt erased and enough money to pay for his care until the end. Cale's thumb traced an absent circle on her arm, the gesture strangely gentle for a man proposing the impossible. Marry me. Play the role of Lunar Queen for 1 year. After that, we divorce quietly, you receive a settlement of 100,000 crowns, and you're free. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you're no one, Cale said bluntly, then seemed to catch himself. His expression shifted, something almost like regret crossing his features. I mean, you have no political connections, no family alliances that would complicate a divorce. It's a clean arrangement. Practical. Isla jerked her arm from his grasp. How romantic. Romance is a luxury neither of us can afford, Miss Thorne. But there was something in Cale's eyes now, a flicker of something that looked almost like vulnerability. You think I want this? An arranged marriage to a stranger? But my people need stability, and I need the elders off my back so I can focus on defending our borders from the southern packs. 1 year, that's all I'm asking. You're not asking, you're extorting. Yes, Cale agreed simply. But I'm offering you a choice your father never gave you. Take the deal, and he spends his final days in comfort, with the best healer's money can buy. Refuse, and I enforce the contract he signed. 7 years of servitude, and I won't be so generous about where you serve. The threat hung between them, sharp as broken glass. Upstairs, her father coughed, a wet, rattling sound that seemed to go on forever. Isla closed her eyes. If I agree, can I say goodbye to him? Before I go. The silence stretched so long she thought Cale wouldn't answer. When she opened her eyes, he was studying her with an expression she couldn't read. You can visit him whenever you like, Cale said quietly. I'm not a monster, Isla. Whatever you might think, you're blackmailing me into marriage. Yes, he didn't flinch from the accusation. But I'll keep you safe. Fed, housed in luxury most people only dream of. And when the year is done, you'll have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life. He extended his hand, palm up. 1 year. Do we have a deal? Isla looked at his hand, large, scarred, tipped with nails just slightly too sharp to be human. The hand of a predator. A king, a monster. She thought of her father upstairs, drowning in his own lungs because she couldn't afford the medicine that might give him a few more months. She thought of the collectors who'd started eyeing her differently when they realized she was the only thing left of value. She thought of the life she'd had before her father's debts had swallowed everything, and the life she'd never have if she stayed here. 1 year, she whispered. And you swear he'll have the best care. You have my word as Alpha King. Slowly, hating herself, hating him, hating the world that had brought him to this moment, Isla placed her hand in his. Cale's fingers closed around hers, warm, careful, almost reverent. For just a second, his thumb brushed across her knuckles in a gesture so tender it made her chest ache. "I'll make the arrangements," he said softly. "We leave at dawn." As he turned to go, Isla found her voice one last time. "Kale." He paused in the doorway, moonlight turning his dark hair silver. "Why did you really choose me?" The Alpha King looked back at her, and in his golden eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than his threats ever could: hunger. Not for her body, but for something deeper, something lonelier. "Because when I walked through that door," Kale said quietly, "you looked at me like I was just a man. Not a king, not a monster, just a man." He smiled, sad and small. "Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Then he was gone, leaving Isla alone in her cottage with a deal that would change everything and a question that would haunt her through all the days to come. What happens when a year is no longer enough? Thank you for reading with the Story King, where every ending is just another beginning. Subscribe for more tales that will haunt your heart.